The space station hummed with excitement. Commander Zekthor stood at the observation window watching the small human ship drift closer. His 3 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. After months of planning, they had finally captured a human. The Velkrin Empire was powerful. They ruled over 30 star systems. Their military had defeated every enemy they faced. But their real weapon was not ships or soldiers. It was science. For 200 years, the Velkrin had conquered other species the same way. They would capture one of them, study their bodies, learn how their cells worked. Then they would create diseases that only killed that species. It was simple. It was effective. It never failed. Now it was humanity's turn. The humans were new to the galaxy. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Their ships were small and slow. Their weapons were basic. They seemed weak. Perfect targets. Zekthor watched as his soldiers brought the human aboard. She was a female, wearing a gray uniform with strange symbols. Her skin was pale brown. Her hair was black and tied back. She walked calmly between the guards, showing no fear. That bothered him a little. Most captured aliens screamed or tried to escape. This one just looked around with dark eyes, as if she was curious rather than afraid. The guards brought her to the research laboratory. It was a large white room filled with medical equipment. 20 Velkrin scientists waited there. They wore protective suits and carried scanning devices. Zekthor entered the lab. He approached the human slowly. She was shorter than him, but she stood straight. Her eyes met his without looking away. "What is your name?" he asked in the common galactic language. "Commander Sarah Chen," she replied. Her accent was strange, but she spoke clearly. "Earth Alliance Navy. You have been captured for research purposes," Zekthor explained. "We will study your biology. It will not be pleasant, but you will not be killed. If you cooperate, there will be less pain." Sarah looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a happy smile. "You have no idea what you just did," she said quietly. Zekthor ignored her words. Captured aliens often made threats. It meant nothing. The scientists began their work. They took samples of Sarah's blood. They scanned her bones and organs. They collected tissue from her skin and hair. Sarah sat still through it all. Sometimes she answered their questions. Sometimes she just watched them work. Hours passed. The scientists filled their computers with data. Everything seemed normal. Then one of the younger scientists called out, "Commander Zekthor, you need to see this." Zekthor walked to the display screen. It showed an image of human DNA, magnified thousands of times. The scientist pointed at strange patterns in the genetic code. "What am I looking at?" Zekthor asked. "Fragments," the scientist said. His voice shook. "Pieces of DNA from other species. Thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. Some of them are from creatures that went extinct millions of years ago." Zekthor stared at the screen. That was impossible. No species could have genetic material from so many others. It violated every principle of biology. "Run the test again," he ordered. "Check for errors." They ran the test 5 more times. The results were always the same. Sarah spoke from her chair. "It's not an error. That's just how humans are." All the scientists turned to look at her. "Explain," Zekthor demanded. Sarah leaned back. "Earth is what we call a death world. It's one of the most dangerous planets in the known galaxy. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling. The atmosphere has poison, the oceans are full of predators. Diseases evolve faster than anywhere else." She paused. To survive there, life had to become incredibly tough, incredibly adaptable. Our immune systems learn to fight threats you've never imagined. Our cells carry the genetic memory of every battle our ancestors ever fought. The laboratory became very quiet. Zekthor felt a cold sensation in his chest. What kind of threats? Sarah listed them on her fingers. Smallpox, plague, tuberculosis, malaria, Influenza, HIV, Ebola, COVID, those are just the famous ones. There were thousands more. Each one killed millions of us before we learned to fight back. She looked directly at Zekthor. And we survived them all. Every human alive today carries the genetic weapons that defeated those diseases. Our bodies are walking arsenals. Zekthor turned back to his scientists. His mind was racing. If what the human said was true, then bringing her here was dangerous. Very dangerous, but it was too late for such thoughts. One of the junior researchers suddenly coughed, then another, then a third. Within an hour, they all had fevers. The fever spread fast. By the next morning, 12 scientists were sick. By evening, 20 more. The medical staff tried everything they knew, but nothing worked. Zekthor stood in the observation room above the laboratory. He watched through the glass as doctors moved between beds. The sick Velcrin lay still, their skin changing from its normal blue to a sickly gray color. 3 of them had already died. He turned to look at Sarah Chen. She sat in a sealed containment room, visible through another window. She appeared completely healthy. She read a book on a datapad, as calm as if she was at home. His assistant, Mira, approached him. "Commander, the analysis is complete. You need to hear this." They went to the main computer room. Mira pulled up files on the large display. Graphs and charts filled the screen. All of them showed terrible news. The infection came from bacteria that live on human skin, Mira explained. They're called commensals. On humans, they're harmless. They're part of the human body's natural defense system. But to us, she paused, to us, they're deadly. Our immune systems have never seen anything like them. We have no defense. Zekthor felt his blood turn cold. They had made a catastrophic mistake. How bad is it? He asked. Mira touched the screen. A new image appeared. It showed the research station, with red dots spreading from the laboratory to other sections. It's already in the ventilation system. We estimate every person on this station will be infected within 3 days. The station held 5,000 Velcrin. What about a cure? Zekthor asked. We're the best biological engineers in the galaxy. Surely we can create something. Mira shook her head slowly. These bacteria adapt too quickly. Every treatment we try, they change to resist it. It's like they're learning. Our computers estimate it would take 50 years to develop an effective cure. We don't have 50 years. We have days. I know, Mira said quietly. Zekthor made a decision. He walked to Sarah's containment room. He spoke through the communication system. Human, we need your help. Sarah looked up from her book. She studied him for a moment. Then she set the pad down and walked to the glass. You're dying, she said. It was not a question. Yes. The bacteria from your body are killing my people. We cannot stop it. We need you to give us a cure. Sarah crossed her arms. Why would I help you? You kidnapped me. You were planning to create weapons to destroy my entire species. Zekthor could not deny it. It was true. What do you want? He asked finally. Sarah smiled, but there was no humor in it. First, I want you to understand what you did wrong. You thought humans were weak because our technology is simple. You thought we'd be easy to conquer. She stepped closer to the glass. But humans didn't evolve in a safe galaxy. We evolved on Earth. Every day on our planet was a battle for survival, not against other species with weapons, but against the planet itself. Earth has killed more humans than all the wars in our history combined, she continued. Hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, floods, droughts, and worst of all, diseases. She began listing them. The Black Death killed half of Europe. Smallpox wiped out entire civilizations. The Spanish flu killed 50 million people in 2 years. We fought invisible enemies that could kill billions. And we won, Sarah said firmly. Not by running away. Not by hiding. We stayed and fought. We learned. We adapted. Every human alive today is descended from survivors. Our bodies remember every battle. Zekthor listened in growing horror. The Velcrin had evolved on a peaceful world. Their only enemies had been other intelligent species. They had never faced what Sarah described. Our immune systems are not just defenses, Sarah explained. They're weapons. Active, learning, adapting weapons. When a new disease appears, our bodies study it. Learn its weaknesses. Create antibodies to destroy it. Then our cells remember that information forever. She gestured at the sick Velcrin beyond the glass. Those bacteria on my skin? They're completely harmless to me. My immune system domesticated them millions of years ago. They're part of my body's ecosystem. But to us, they're death, Zekthor finished. Exactly. And this is just bacteria. I also carry viruses, fungi, parasites, all living in balance inside me, all deadly to species that didn't evolve on a death world. The room was silent for a long moment. What do you want? Zekthor asked again. To save my people. Sarah's expression became serious. I want you to contact the human fleet. Tell them I'm alive and unharmed. Request medical assistance, and I want a promise. The Velcrin Empire will never again attempt to capture, study, or harm any human being. If we do this, you will help us? I can't cure you, Sarah said. But my blood contains antibodies. Your scientists can use them to develop treatments. It won't be fast, but it's your only chance. Zekthor made the hardest decision of his life. He agreed. 2 hours later, a message was sent into human space. It contained a single sentence. We have captured Commander Sarah Chen. We require immediate medical assistance. This is not a threat. This is a plea for help. By the time the message arrived, the infection had spread to the station's command deck. By the time Earth responded, it had reached the docking bay. By the time help could arrive, everyone on the station would be infected. And the worst part? 3 supply ships had left the station before the quarantine was established. They were already on their way to 3 different Velcrin colony worlds. The plague was spreading. The capital world of the Velcrin Empire was called Velcara Prime. It was beautiful. Blue oceans covered half the planet. Green forests spread across 3 continents. 12 billion Velcrin lived there in peace and prosperity, until the first supply ship arrived. The ship docked at the main spaceport. The crew went through normal procedures. They passed health screenings. They showed no signs of illness. They were cleared to enter the city. 6 hours later, the first crew member collapsed. By the next day, everyone who had been near the spaceport was showing symptoms. High fever, difficulty breathing, skin discoloration. The hospitals filled quickly. Doctors had no idea what they were treating. High Council leader Vectar stood in the emergency command center. Screens surrounded him, showing maps of the infection spread. Red zones grew larger every hour. How did this happen? He demanded. We have the best medical technology in the galaxy. His chief medical officer, Dr. Renshaw, looked exhausted. This is unlike anything we've seen. The pathogen adapts to every treatment. It's as if it's intelligent. Where did it come from? Dr. Renshaw hesitated. The research station. The one where we're holding the human prisoner. Vectar went very still. He had approved the capture mission personally. He had believed it would give them the key to conquering humanity. Instead, it had brought death to their homeworld. Get me Commander Zekthor, he ordered. Now. The communication screen flickered to life. Zekthor appeared. He looked terrible. His skin was pale. His eyes were red. He was clearly sick. Explain, Vectar said coldly. Zekthor told him everything. The capture of the human, the discovery of their unique biology, the bacteria, the spreading infection, the desperate plea for help sent to Earth. When he finished, Vectar was silent for a long time. How many of our worlds are infected? He asked finally. 3 so far. But trade ships travel between our colonies every day. Within a week, it could reach all 30 systems. And the human? This Commander Chen? She's healthy, completely unaffected. She has offered to help us develop a treatment, but only if we guarantee her safety and promise never to harm humanity again. Vectar felt anger rise in his chest. She dares to make demands? Execute her. Maybe without her, the disease will stop spreading. No, Zekthor shouted, then coughed. When he spoke again, his voice was weaker. Killing her won't stop anything. The bacteria are already everywhere, and she's our only hope for a cure. Her blood contains antibodies we need. Before Vectar could respond, another voice spoke. Sarah Chen had entered the frame of the communication screen. She stood beside Zekthor, still sealed behind a glass barrier. Leader Vectar, she said calmly, I need you to understand something important. This isn't an attack. This is an accident. My people didn't do this on purpose. You brought death to our worlds. No, you brought me to your worlds. Against my will. If you had left humanity alone, none of this would have happened. Vectar wanted to argue, but he could not. She was right. But I don't want your people to die, Sarah continued. I'm a soldier, not a monster. I will help you. But you need to understand what you're dealing with. She moved closer to the glass. Every human is like me. We all carry these microorganisms. We all have these immune systems. If you harm me, if you harm any human, this will happen again. Maybe worse. Worse? How could it be worse? Sarah's expression became grim. Because what's killing you now is just bacteria. Common bacteria that live on human skin. We also have protocols for captured personnel. If I had been harmed, if I had been tortured or killed, my body contains dormant viral packages that would have activated. What kind of viruses? Vectar asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Military grade. Engineered for maximum transmission and lethality. They're designed as a last resort weapon. If an enemy captures and kills one of us, they doom themselves. The command center became absolutely quiet. Everyone was staring at the screen. You're saying every human is a biological weapon? Vectar asked slowly, not by choice. It's protection. Humans learned a long time ago that the best way to prevent capture is to make capturing us suicidal. She paused, but I wasn't harmed. Commander Zekthor treated me with respect, so the viral packages stayed dormant. You got lucky. Vectar felt the weight of their mistake crushing down on him. They had thought humans were primitive, easy prey. Instead, they had discovered a species so dangerous that just touching one could destroy an entire civilization. What do you want from us? He asked. Simple thing, Sarah replied. Send me home. Never capture another human. Share your findings with the other galactic powers so they don't make the same mistake. And in return, human medical teams will come to help treat your people. Why would you help us? After what we tried to do? Sarah smiled sadly. Because humans understand plagues. We've fought them for thousands of years. We know what it's like to watch people die from invisible enemies. We don't wish that on anyone, not even our enemies. She turned to look at Zekthor, who was struggling to stay on his feet. And because some of your people showed mercy when they didn't have to. That deserves to be repaid. Vectar looked at the death toll numbers rising on his screens. Millions were already sick. Hundreds of thousands had died. His empire was crumbling. He had no choice. We accept your terms, he said. Please help us, Sarah nodded. Send the message to Earth. Tell them Commander Sarah Chen is alive and requesting immediate medical evacuation and support. They'll come. The message was sent within minutes. 3 days later, human ships appeared at the edge of Velcrin space. They did not come alone. They brought something far more terrifying than weapons. They brought hope. Admiral Marcus Hayes stood on the bridge of the carrier ship Resilience. Through the main view screen, he could see the Velcrin homeworld growing larger. 8 more human warships flanked his vessel, moving in perfect formation. They had traveled for 3 days at maximum speed. When the distress call arrived, the entire Earth Alliance military had mobilized. One of their own was in danger. Nothing else mattered, but the message they received was strange. Not a ransom demand. Not a threat. Just 5 words. We need your help, please. Admiral, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's High Council Leader Vectar. Put him on screen. The Velcrin leader appeared. He looked terrible. His blue skin had turned gray. His movements were slow and weak. Behind him, medical personnel moved through corridors filled with the sick and dying. Admiral Hayes, Vectar said. His voice was rough. Thank you for coming. Where is Commander Chen? Hayes demanded. If she's been harmed, there will be consequences. She is alive and well. She is the only reason any of us are still alive. Please let me explain what happened. Vectar told the whole story. The capture. The research. The accidental plague. The billions of Velcrin who were now sick or dead. He held nothing back. His people had made a terrible mistake and now they were paying for it. When he finished, Admiral Hayes was quiet for a long moment. You tried to weaponize our biology, he said finally. You captured one of our people for experiments. Yes, it was wrong. We understand that now. But please, millions are dying. Commander Chen said you could help. Hayes turned to his medical officer. Dr. Patel, your assessment? A woman in a white uniform stepped forward. Based on the data they've sent, this is a standard human commensal bacteria. Staphylococcus epidermidis, most likely. Harmless to us, but clearly deadly to Velcrin physiology. We can help them. How long to develop a treatment? With Commander Chen's antibodies and their medical facilities? 2 weeks for a working treatment. Another month for mass production. Hayes nodded slowly. He looked back at Vectar. Here are my terms, he said. First, Commander Chen will be returned to us immediately with full honors. Second, the Velcrin Empire will sign a formal treaty promising never to capture, harm, or experiment on any human being. Third, you will share all data from this incident with the Galactic Council. Other species need to know the danger. We accept all terms, Vectar said without hesitation. Good. Then we will send our medical teams down immediately. They will work with your doctors to develop a cure. But understand this, Leader Vectar, this is not friendship. This is mercy. If you ever threaten humanity again, we will not be so generous. Within hours, human medical ships entered orbit around Velcara Prime. Personnel in sealed biosuits descended to the surface. They brought equipment, medicines, and most importantly, knowledge. Dr. Patel led the response team. She set up a temporary laboratory in the main hospital. Velcrin scientists watched in amazement as the humans worked. They moved with practiced efficiency. Every human wore a full containment suit. Not to protect themselves, but to protect the Velcrin from further contamination. Even their breath could be deadly here. Dr. Renshaw, the Velcrin chief medical officer, approached Dr. Patel carefully. How do you know so much about treating bacterial infections? Patel looked up from her work. Because we've been fighting them for our entire existence. Before we had modern medicine, infections killed more humans than anything else. We developed antibiotics, vaccines, advanced treatments. We had to, or we would have gone extinct. Your species seems obsessed with survival. We are, because on Earth everything wants to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, the microscopic organisms. We learned to be obsessed with survival, or we died out. While the medical teams worked, Commander Sarah Chen was brought aboard the Resilience. Admiral Hayes met her in the docking bay. She looked tired but unhurt. She saluted sharply. Commander Chen reporting, sir. Hayes returned the salute, then surprised her by pulling her into a brief hug. Thank God you're safe. We were preparing for war. I know, sir. I'm sorry for the trouble. Trouble? Chen, you single-handedly prevented an interstellar war and saved billions of alien lives. That's not trouble. That's a miracle. Sarah smiled weakly. She was exhausted. What happened down there? Hayes asked. The real story, not the official report. Sarah took a deep breath. They captured me to study human biology. They wanted to create biological weapons against us. But they didn't understand what they were dealing with. The bacteria on my skin infected them. It spread like wildfire. They got what they deserved then, Hayes said coldly. Maybe. But sir, most of the Velcrin had no idea what their leaders were planning. Innocent people are dying. Children are dying. I couldn't just let that happen. Hayes studied her face. Sarah Chen had always been one of his best officers. Brave, intelligent, and compassionate. Those qualities had just saved countless lives. You did the right thing, he said finally. But this changes everything. The galaxy now knows what humans really are. Walking biological weapons? Survivors. The galaxy is full of species that evolved in safe environments. They never had to fight for every breath. They never had to survive plagues and predators and hostile climates. But we did. And that makes us dangerous in ways they never imagined. Over the next 2 weeks, human and Velcrin scientists worked together. They used Sarah's antibodies to create a treatment. It was not perfect, but it worked. The death rate began to drop. By the end of the month, the plague was under control. 2 billion Velcrin had died, nearly 30% of their population. But the rest survived. The Velcrin Empire would never be the same. Their colonies rebelled. Their subject species saw weakness and broke free. The proud empire that had conquered 30 star systems crumbled in months. But they learned their lesson, and more importantly, so did the rest of the galaxy. 6 months after the plague began, the Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Concordia. The topic, humanity. Council Speaker Tharnix opened the session. He was a tall, thin being with silver skin and 4 arms. His species, the Tharnians, had founded the Council 3,000 years ago. We are here to discuss the incident involving the Velcrin Empire and the human species, he began. What happened on Velcara Prime has shocked the galaxy. We must decide how to respond. Vectar stood to speak. He had survived the plague, but he looked older now. Weaker. The weight of 2 billion deaths showed in every movement. The Velcrin Empire takes full responsibility for what happened, he said. We captured a human against all laws of civilized conduct. We paid the price. But I ask you all to learn from our mistake. Do not underestimate humanity. Do not try to capture them. Do not experiment on them. They are far more dangerous than they appear. A representative from the Korath collective stood up. The Koraths were a warrior race, proud and aggressive. Dangerous? They seem weak to me. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are primitive. One human caused all this damage by accident. Imagine what we could do if we captured them on purpose and weaponized their biology against our enemies. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species seemed to agree. Vectar raised his voice. You fool. That is exactly the thinking that destroyed my empire. The humans are not weak. They are survivors. Every single one of them carries biological weapons that could wipe out your entire species. Then they are a threat that must be eliminated, the Korath said. Eliminated? A new voice spoke. Everyone turned. Ambassador Jennifer Rodriguez stood in the human delegation section. She was a small woman with brown skin and gray hair, but she commanded attention when she spoke. Please continue, she said to the Korath. Explain how you plan to eliminate humanity. I'm very curious. The Korath warrior bristled. With superior force. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Rodriguez smiled, but it was not friendly. Technology? Let me tell you about human technology. We developed nuclear weapons 70 years after inventing powered flight. We created biological weapons so terrible that we banned ourselves from using them. We built machines that can think faster than any organic brain. And we did all of this while fighting each other. She walked to the center of the chamber. You see primitive ships and assume we're weak. But we built those ships while recovering from a global war that killed 50 million people. We reached the stars while dealing with climate disasters, economic collapse, and political chaos. We survived and thrived despite everything our own planet threw at us. That doesn't make you special, another representative said. Many species have overcome challenges. True, Rodriguez agreed. But how many of your species evolved on death worlds? How many faced extinction-level threats every few thousand years? How many developed immune systems that can adapt to new diseases in days instead of generations? The chamber fell silent. Let me make something very clear, Rodriguez continued. Humans do not want war with any of you. We came to the stars hoping to find friends and allies. But we are not afraid of conflict. We have been fighting since before we had language. War is in our DNA, just like survival. She gestured toward Vectar. The Velkrin learned this lesson. Commander Chen could have let them all die. She had every right to revenge. But she chose mercy instead. That is also human nature. We can be kind or cruel, peaceful or violent. The choice is yours. Speaker Tharnix raised one hand for attention. Ambassador Rodriguez, what do humans want from this council? Simple recognition of our rights, she replied. The right to travel freely. The right to trade fairly. The right to defend ourselves. And most importantly, the right to be left alone if we choose. And if species refuse to grant these rights, Rodriguez's expression hardened, then they will learn what the Velkrin learned. We don't start fights, but we finish them, and we have 5 billion years of evolutionary advantages on our side. After hours of debate, the council voted. The result was overwhelming. The human quarantine protocol was established. Any species that captured, harmed, or experimented on humans would face immediate sanctions. Trade embargoes, military blockades, complete isolation from the galactic community. 44 species signed immediately. 3 refused. The Korath Collective, the Zephyr Dominion, and the Hive Consciousness all declared that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to spread unchecked. They would not attack openly, but they would not promise protection either. Ambassador Rodriguez noted their decision without comment. But everyone in the chamber understood the message. Those 3 species had just made powerful enemies. After the session ended, Vectar approached Rodriguez privately. Thank you, he said quietly. For helping us, for showing mercy when you had no reason to. Rodriguez nodded. Thank Commander Chen, she's the one who made that choice. I just explained it to everyone else. Your species is remarkable. Terrifying, but remarkable. We're survivors, Leader Vectar. That's all we've ever been. We survived Earth when it tried to kill us. We survived each other when we tried to kill ourselves. Now we're trying to survive the galaxy. Do you think you will? She smiled. We always do. Back on Earth, Commander Sarah Chen received her Medal of Honor in a private ceremony. She did not want publicity. She did not want fame. She just wanted to return to duty. Admiral Hayes pinned the medal to her uniform. You changed everything, Commander. The galaxy sees us differently now. I just survived, sir. That's what humans do. No, you did more than survive. You showed them who we really are. Not monsters, not weapons, just people trying to live in a universe that doesn't always want us. Sarah looked out the window at Earth below. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy, and humanity's home. Maybe they'll leave us alone now, she said hopefully. Hayes shook his head. Some will. The smart ones. But there are always fools who think they can win against impossible odds. Then we'll teach them the same lesson. Yes, we will. In the months that followed, human colony ships began spreading through the galaxy. Most species welcomed them. Some traded with them. Others simply stayed away, content to watch from a distance. The Velcrin signed a mutual defense treaty with humanity. After everything that happened, they understood humans better than anyone else. They knew both the danger and the mercy that humans were capable of. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, not through intimidation, but through something far more powerful. The simple, undeniable fact that you do not capture a human, because if you do, you doom your entire species. 1 year after the plague, Commander Sarah Chen returned to Velcara Prime. This time, she came as a guest. The planet had changed. Cities were being rebuilt. Memorials stood in every major square, honoring the billions who died. But life continued. The Velcrin were survivors too, in their own way. Zekthor met her at the spaceport. He looked healthier now, though the experience had left its mark. His skin had regained its blue color, but his eyes held a deeper understanding. Commander Chen, he greeted her warmly. Welcome back, Sarah smiled. Just Sarah is fine. I'm not here on official business. Then just Zek is fine as well. Come, I want to show you something. He led her to a new building near the old research station. It was painted white and blue, with symbols from both their species on the walls. A sign above the entrance read, Joint Human Velcrin Medical Research Center. After everything that happened, we decided to learn from it, Zek explained. Instead of studying humans as enemies, we study them as partners. We share our biological engineering expertise. Humans share their knowledge of disease resistance and immune systems. Inside the facility, Velcrin and human scientists worked side by side. They wore protective equipment, but the atmosphere was friendly. Colleagues, not captors and prisoners. A young Velcrin scientist approached them excitedly. Zek, you need to see this. We just completed the vaccine trials. 98% effective against all known Earth bacteria. Zek smiled. That's wonderful. Sarah, this vaccine will allow Velcrin to interact safely with humans. No more biosuits. No more quarantine protocols. We can finally work together properly. That's amazing progress, Sarah said. How did you do it so fast? By understanding what we got wrong before. We tried to weaponize human biology. Instead, we should have been learning to coexist with it. The solution was not conquest, but adaptation. They walked through the laboratory together. Sarah saw research into dozens of topics, cross-species medical treatments, genetic compatibility studies, symbiotic organism research, all of it aimed at building bridges, not weapons. We are also helping other species, Zek added. The Tharnians requested assistance with the disease outbreak. The Kryn asked for help developing better medical technology. Humans and Velcrin working together have become the galaxy's finest medical team. From trying to destroy us to saving lives together. That's quite a change. We learned the most important lesson in the hardest way possible. Some battles cannot be won with force. Some enemies cannot be defeated with weapons. The only way to survive is to work together. Later they sat in Zek's office overlooking the city. Through the window, Sarah could see Velcrin and humans walking together in the streets. No fear, no hatred. Just two species learning to share space. Do you ever regret it? Zek asked quietly. Helping us instead of letting us die? Sarah thought for a moment. No. You made a terrible mistake, but you didn't deserve extinction. No one does. Besides, look at what came from it. We have peace. We have partnership. That's worth more than revenge. The other species in the galaxy are watching this alliance closely. Some with hope. Some with fear. Let them watch. They'll see that humans can be friends or enemies. The choice is theirs. Zek pulled up a holographic display. It showed a map of known space. Human colonies were marked in blue. Velcrin territories in green. Many areas now showed both colors overlapping. We are planning joint colony projects. Mixed settlements where our species live and work together. Your people are comfortable with that? After everything? Most are. They understand that you saved us when you could have destroyed us. That kind of mercy creates powerful loyalty. Suddenly an alarm sounded. Zek checked his communicator and his expression became serious. What is it? Sarah asked. A message from the border. The Korath Collective just attacked a human transport ship. They captured 3 crew members. Sarah stood up quickly. Her expression turned cold. The Korath were one of the 3 species that refused to sign the protocol, Zek said. They think humans are a threat that must be eliminated. They just made a fatal mistake, Sarah said quietly. Zek looked at her. He remembered these same words from a year ago when he had made his own fatal mistake. What will happen? First, Earth Alliance will demand immediate release of the prisoners. If the Korath refuse, our fleet will move in. But by then, it might already be too late for them. The biological contamination? Sarah nodded. Every human knows the risks. Those crew members will have activated emergency protocols. If they're harmed, the viral packages in their systems will release. The Korath just brought a biological apocalypse into their home. Will you help them like you helped us? Sarah's expression was hard. That depends on them. If they release the prisoners immediately and apologize, maybe. If they harm them, if they experiment on them, if they do what you did. She paused. Then they'll learn why the galaxy fears Deathworld species. Within hours, 8 human warships were on their way to Korath space. The message was clear. Return our people or face the consequences. The Korath, proud and stubborn, refused. They began experiments on the captured humans, trying to understand their biology. They wanted to create weapons just like the Velcrin had tried. It took 3 days for the first Korath scientist to fall ill. 5 days for the infection to spread to their military base. 7 days for it to reach their capital city. By the time the Korath leaders realized their mistake, it was too late. They sent a desperate message to Earth begging for help. Admiral Hayes received the message on the bridge of his flagship. Next to him stood Sarah Chen and Ambassador Rodriguez. Should we help them? Hayes asked. Rodriguez thought carefully. They captured our people knowing the risks. They experimented on them despite our warnings. They chose this path. But millions of innocent Korath will die, Sarah added. People who had nothing to do with their leaders' decisions. Hayes looked between them. What would you do, Commander? Sarah stared out at the stars. I would offer help, but with conditions. The Korath must release all prisoners immediately. They must sign the protocol. They must allow human oversight of their biological research for the next 50 years. And they must pay reparations to the families of anyone who dies. Harsh terms, Rodriguez noted. The Velcrin learned this lesson with mercy. The Korath will learn it with justice. The terms were sent. The Korath, desperate and dying, accepted all of them. Human medical teams arrived to help. But this time they worked more slowly. This time the Korath paid the full price for their arrogance. By the time the cure was distributed, 40% of their population had died. The galaxy learned a second lesson. Humans could be merciful. But they could also be ruthless. Cross them once and they might forgive. Cross them twice and they would make sure you never forgot the price. Years passed. Human colonies spread across hundreds of worlds. Most species welcomed them. Some traded with them. Others simply stayed out of their way. The Velcrin remained humanity's closest allies. Together they explored new worlds. Together they faced new challenges. Together they proved that even the worst beginning could lead to the best partnership. Sarah Chen eventually retired from the military. She became the director of the Joint Medical Research Center, working alongside Zek to save lives instead of taking them. On her last day in uniform, Admiral Hayes asked her one final question. Do you think we'll ever be fully accepted, or will we always be seen as dangerous? Sarah looked at Earth through the viewscreen. The planet that had tried to kill humanity for millions of years. The planet that had made them strong enough to survive anything the galaxy threw at them. We are dangerous, she said simply. That's not something we can change. But dangerous doesn't mean evil. A fire can destroy a home or warm a family. The choice of how to use power is what matters. And what choice have we made? She smiled. To be the fire that warms, not the fire that destroys, unless someone gives us no other choice. In the end, humanity found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as survivors who had learned both mercy and strength. The galaxy learned to respect them. Some species even learned to love them, but all species learned one simple truth: never capture a human, because every human carries 5 billion years of evolution. Every human is a survivor of the most dangerous planet in known space. Every human is a walking reminder that the strongest species are not those with the best weapons, but those who learn to survive without them. The Velkrin learned this lesson and became allies. The Korath learned this lesson and became cautious, and the rest of the galaxy learned to treat humanity with the respect they deserved, not because humans were the strongest, but because they were the survivors. And survivors always find a way to win.